This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 480, recorded on Thursday, September 11th, 2014. Science like Jagger.
Disclaimer.
No.
Shoot.
No. You're early.
I'm sorry. There was a pause. I was like, oh crap.
No, I was just getting to my thing and my space.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm Dr. Kiki, and today we're going to fill your head, everyone, with solar flares, frightened frogs, and loopy birds. But first...
Disclaimer. The following is a conservation success story. This week marked the official return of California blue whales to historical numbers. The blue whale, the largest animal on Earth, and at one time a creature driven to the brink of extinction, is back, at least along the coast of California. So what now? Are we done? No! This just shows that when scientists, hippies, the kids, media, they all band together for something so implicitly positive as save the whales, it works. We can do it. We can protect and foster a species so gigantic our human brains can't even comprehend its massiveness. So, let's do it again. And again, and again. Never stop. Find the conservation movements that are easy to get behind, and find ways to make all of those others easier to get behind. Not one group of us can do it alone. We need each other. So whether you are a tree hugger, a chemist, a couch potato, a student, a news anchor, or an other, let's band together for some of This Week in Science coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki.
Good science to you, Blair, and welcome everyone out there to another episode of This Week in Science. And this week, we have got so many great stories, as always. I say it every week, but we do. We have so many great stories. Great start to the show with a story-filled disclaimer, Blair. I like that.
Trying something new.
Yeah, nicely done. On this week's show, we have stories about solar flares from the sun. I've got a big story about something called a soliton in your nerves, and I want to talk about it. And then, lips like Jagger. I'm going to get to that later. Blair?
Sweet. I have a very aquatic-themed twist this week. I have some more about whales, actually. There's a couple stories about whales. I also have two different stories about fish and a story about frogs making a watery landing into life.
Oh, interesting. Is this one of the stories that was teased last week?
Yes, we're revisiting the frog story from last week because it does deserve some time. It's a pretty wild story.
And we really did not cover it at all. So, great. All right, first up, solar flare. Really, there was a solar flare. This happens quite often, well, occasionally on the sun. These flares from magnetic activity within the sun. Flares burst out and they escape from the gravitational and magnetic attraction of the sun. And we have solar, wind, we have radiation, all sorts of crazy stuff, massively headed this time directly towards Earth. Woohoo! Yeah, not all. The thing is, they're not always, and usually are not pointed at the Earth. When they are, we hope that they are not very large. And in this case, it is an X-class flare, which is one of the larger classes of solar flares. The flare itself is X1.6. It came off of the sun September 10th, yesterday, and was imaged by the European Space Agency and NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. So there will be, probably in the next day or two, geomagnetic activity in our atmosphere. The radiation will not actually reach our planet, the surface of our planet, so it's not going to break through our atmosphere and fry us. You don't have to worry about that. But it could potentially interfere with satellite communications and other things. So it's important that companies who run satellites and even the International Space Station that astronauts aboard, people can do their business accordingly, right? Mm-hmm. So you can go to spaceweather.gov to be able to get an idea of what the current space weather conditions are and what that means for radiation and what's happening. So the past 24 hours, and currently we are in geomagnetic storm rating G1, which is minor, and solar radiation storm rating S1, which is also minor. So nothing really to worry about. And there are no radio blackouts, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't need to go to my solar flare bunker.
No, you do not. And you wouldn't need to anyway. But if you do live near the poles, this means there's going to be some great aurora activity. Yeah, so be ready for some pretty pictures to show up on the interwebs.
Stoked.
Yeah. And then, speaking of things transmitting from place to place, not solar flare in this case, but nerve impulses. Crazy story that it's actually been a story that I've been following on the cusp of my attention since 2005, when this theory was first surfaced within neuroscientific literature. And the idea comes from a group of researchers at the Niels Bohr Institute. They have published in Physical Review X, which is an open access journal, which means anyone can access it and read the article for free. But they came up with an idea in 2005 to explain how nerve impulses travel along nerves. And you're going to say, wait, hold on here. What about it's the action potential, right? We got the action potential. Electrical activity starts it, and then you have chemical ionic activity along a gradient that propagates a wave, an electrochemical wave, and you have electrical propagation down the axon until you get to the end of the axon where you have chemicals that are dumped into a synapse. Yes, that is what we know of nerve impulses as to how they work. And in 1952, this model, the action potential model, which uses ionic and electric currents, was described by a couple of scientists named Hodgkin and Huxley. And if you've ever taken a neuroscience class, this is getting beaten into you. Hodgkin and Huxley and their equations of ionic potential, and this is stuff that it's serious, and it's beaten into you with neuroscience textbooks if you're a grad student. So this is the reigning model of how nerve transmission takes place. However, there are some weird things that occur that can't be explained by Hodgkin and Huxley, which is one of them seems to be that there is a temperature change, that there is heat, a heat signal that cannot be explained along the nerve as nerve transmission, electrical nerve transmission takes place. Can't be explained by the Hodgkin-Huxley experiments. And so Thomas Heimberg and his research group have been trying to look at other ideas, and they have come up with an idea called the soliton. Now, a soliton in physics can be explained as a pressure wave or a propagating density wave. And a soliton is usually in the model that they are using to describe it, they're talking about it as sound pulses. And they're saying that nerve impulses are the equivalent to sound pulses. and that it's not necessarily electrical activity wherein there are action potentials with ionic gradients that occur, that then you have a refractory period during which time stimulation cannot occur, that this is not accurate, and actually these solitons are based on particles. And so they hypothesized that if you stimulated a nerve from both ends at the same time and had the signal, the nerve propagation going toward each other, they would not cancel out, but they would, like sound waves or ripples on water, they would pass right through each other and keep going. And so they just did an experiment, and that's what they showed. Their data show that there is actually, and there is other data that they have shown that suggests there's actually a physical thickening of the nerve membrane as this potential passes over the membrane. And additionally, they say that it's not necessarily this membrane compression that occurs as a soliton passes produces something equivalent to a piezoelectric effect. And then the electric current is not, that we read is not, this electrical signal is not necessarily an electrical current, but it's caused by a mechanical force.
Mm-hmm. But it still has electrical components to it, right?
Yes, it still has electrical components to it, absolutely.
Right. Because, for example, of course I have to bring things always back to the animals, right? The sharks have the special sensors in the front of their face that senses the nerve signals in bodies of animals, right? And they always thought that it was an electrical signal.
Right. Yeah, so they could potentially be picking up this electrical signal from the water, these sharks, other fishes that have electrosensory organs. They definitely will pick up an electrical signal, but then the question is, how is that signal from the transducer, or the thing that takes in the signal and connects it to a nerve, transduces it into a signal the body can read, from there, and then from the nerve to the brain, and even within the brain, how does the signal propagate? How does it move? And so there are definite questions, and people, this is a fringe idea, because for 60 years, over 60 years, Hodgkin and Huxley people have experimented, re-experimented. I mean, we did electrical stimulation experiments in physiology lab. I taught to undergraduates. We did this as graduate students. You know, this stuff is, people do this all the time, and Hodgkin and Huxley and their equations hold up. So there are holes in the overarching neuron theory of how neurons really work. We don't know everything yet. And if we could figure out exactly how they work, then maybe that would help us, understand a whole lot of things, like, what goes on in immune disorders like multiple sclerosis or ALS, where the body stops working appropriately, where the nerves stop working appropriately. There are interesting questions as to how our nerves put together information. How do we put together all the information and send it to the brain so that the brain understands what's going on outside of the body? What is actually happening at the level of the nerve to code information? Is there, and if there is a physical aspect as well as an electrical aspect, I mean a physical as in mechanical aspect as well as electrical, that could be really interesting. This could have understanding this, according to this soliton idea, could potentially lead to radical changes in how we administer anesthesia.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are all sorts of questions about how nerves work, what we're doing in the body, and for years we've just been like, Hodgkin and Huxley, it's proven, it works. It's proven over and over again, but there definitely are questions. And now this soliton theory, it is not the last word. either, and there are problems with the soliton theory, and there are also problems with the experimental paradigm. I love Reddit. I love Reddit because I can find people talking about this story, and today they were tearing it apart, saying, oh, they just recorded from the exterior of the nerve, put a couple of electrodes on the outside of the nerve. They're recording artifacts. How do they even know they're recording what they say they're recording? They need to go inside the cell. So the methods aren't necessarily even the best methods,
right,
to be able to prove what they're doing. So
I was looking at that. They basically pulled the nerves out of a lobster, right?
yeah, a worm. They have one paradigm that's worm nerve and one paradigm that's a lobster nerve. Yes.
Yeah.
Pulled the nerves out and stuck them on a little experimental setup where you have stimulators at either end, and then a third of the way from the end you have a pair of electrodes. And you have a stimulus that pops into that nerve from both ends at the same time, and it travels, propagates, and what you would expect based on where the electrodes are is that if there is a refractory period during which the ontogenic or the backwards moving stimulus hits the place that has just had an action potential, it should be blocked.
Right.
And you should not see two waves in your results. You should not see two spikes. But what they say is that they saw two waves. They see two potentials passing through. They did not see a blocking. So I think there's something here to be experimented upon further.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things where it's fringe. This is fringe science. But there is something with potential there. And I worry about people getting too tied up. I worry about the new agey aspects of this. People being like, our bodies are sound, man. You know? Yeah, soliton, it's an analogy of physical for a propagating density wave that physically changes, that has properties similar to sound waves, but it's not a sound wave. Exactly. It's not like sound is going to... So I just worry about people taking this and running with it in the kind of new agey pseudoscience circles. So listeners, be on the lookout.
Yes, be on the lookout, but also keep in mind, no area of science is a closed case. None of it.
Exactly, which I think is a very interesting. Which I think that's one of the big points here that you just brought up, is that Hodgkin and Huxley, it's case closed, right? No, not really. There is no. We don't have a whole story yet, so this is interesting, and I want to keep watching. Yeah! So we don't have a Justin yet tonight, so I do believe we are going to have to go directly into Blair's Animal Corner.
Smart creature, bright and small. Five-peg millipede, no pet animal. If you want to hear about animals, she's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. Animal Corner.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to jump right into the story that we semi-teased last week. I believe it went with Justin going, there's an animal. I don't remember which one.
A rabbit or a frog or
a fish or something.
Fish. Yeah.
The eggs. So here's the deal. So I was so glad he brought it up, though, because this is an awesome story. Tree frogs. Their life cycle is not set in stone. Most people think egg development and the time at which an egg will hatch for any given species is kind of pre-written. When the thing is ready, it will hatch, right? But it turns out it's not so simple. The Hansen's tree frog found in Thailand, they did this experiment with them. Now, in the real world, in Cambodia, in the rainy season, they make, are you guys ready for this? Gelatinous masses of eggs that overhang seasonal pools off of plants.
I think I saw one of those at the local, like, little tapioca sippy cup place.
Oh my god. Yes. Let me just eat these frog eggs in here. Sorry, anyway. So,
I do wonder.
So right before they hatch, the entire clutch of eggs detaches, drops into the water, and then the hatchlings come out of the gelatinous mass. And unfortunately, katydids,
Katie
insects,
didn't.
Katie did it. They hang out in these pools and they eat both the eggs and the adult frogs. What they found out in this study is that hatching occurred much sooner among clutches where eggs were removed. It was kind of pretended that they were eaten, right? So they were pulled off of this mound, this gelatinous mound of eggs. They were pulled. Some of the eggs were pulled off. The leftover eggs hatched, usually within an hour after the incident. So overall, it was about a fifth sooner than the eggs that were not hatched, that were not preyed upon. And they did compare this to other variables like parental care, mother's nutrients, mother's size, all this kinds of stuff. And pretty much across the board, if they had eggs eaten, they hatched sooner, no matter any of the other variables. So somehow these eggs know when their brothers and sisters are getting eaten. So most likely it's a chemical signal, and it has to do with this mound, this mucousy mound being broken apart. So somehow in that process, there's a chemical signal sent to the other eggs, and that tells them to hatch.
That's so fascinating. So as they're broken apart, there's chemicals released,
Most likely
damage chemicals, or
I think it's the screams.
the screams.
Hi, Justin.
Screaming, no! And then the other little hatchling's like, I don't know what's going on out there, but I think it's time to leave here.
Yeah, time to get out. So the really cool takeaway from this is that hatching in a life cycle is not static. There's flexibility there.
That's
Pretty
wild.
crazy. Yep.
That's fascinating. Well, I mean, even in humans, we have early term birth, we have late term birth, and we don't necessarily understand all the signals that are involved in that. So
Sibling rivalry?
it's not the same thing because you're not, I mean, but there are environmental stressors that bring on. Maybe the baby says, "I'm getting out of here."
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something that we should now, talking about new areas of science. You can look at any animal's life history, especially ones that have eggs, and you can try to look at what would influence hatching at a certain time. It's possible that there are lots of other species out there that do this, and we just don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So moving right along to fishies. Mosquito fish. They're these really cool fish that will jump out of the water to escape predators. Jump out of the water, land on land, flop around a little bit, find their way back into water. That was for the podcast listeners, by the way. You're welcome. So they flop around on land, find their way into water. It was previously thought that it's kind of just the fish flailing around, and they are just, luckily, they find their way into water. But there's a lot more going on than we had accounted for. Apparently there's two different ways that this mosquito fish will find their way to the water. They'll either flip over this way or they'll roll down the hill. So either they'll roll laterally or they'll kind of flip their head or their tail and do a little bit of a somersault into the water. So they're two very different ways to get back to the water, and like I said before, they just kind of thought that they just flail around long enough until one way worked for them to get into the water. But it turns out, it looks like it's completely intentional, and in fact, they're totally aware of balance, orientation, and where the water is. So that's pretty cool because everyone thinks fish are dumb, but also because
they're like, I can balance on the land. Woohoo!
Yeah. Different senses when we're talking about the sensory system of animals in water versus when they were able to come out on land,
Yeah.
a lot of things had to change. Smell is way different. Hearing is way different. All of these things are different, right? And so it turns out that looking at the orientation sensory system of these fish, looking at their otolith vestibular system, which is what senses the body's orientation relative to gravity in all vertebrates, that appears to need no modification whatsoever from water to land, which could have been a huge positive for the first animals getting onto land.
Yeah.
And so this was all discovered based on these fish. So with the mosquito fish, they were looking at the tail flip, jump, or the body roll. And yeah, they did image capture with all these fish stranded. And it seemed like pretty much every single time the fish knew exactly where they were going, exactly what the path of least resistance was, and were able to get back to the water the easiest way possible.
They had the homing beacon.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So they got gravity, they got slope, they got where the water was. Totally crazy. And then my last fishy story, which is really fun, is that some fish, Kiki's doing her fishy face, some fish are as good at working with other animals as chimps.
Wait, what?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Fish?
So does that mean
let's talk-
working with
let's talk
each
about
other or working with like a completely different species?
So in this case, they were testing coral trout with eels. Coral
Wow.
trout and eels work together in the wild.
Okay, interesting.
The chimp study that they were comparing them to, which actually they did a really good job of comparative models, which I'll get into in a minute. But the chimp study was chimps and chimps. This study was trout and eel. So the coral trout and the moray eel work together to get food. The moray eel, they're not being so smart about it. They're just kind of they're taking advantage of a situation that's right in front of them, and the trout uses that to their advantage, which is absolutely crazy. So what happens is the trout will chase prey, and they're really fast, but then if the prey goes into a hard to reach crevice or in between a couple rocks, then the trout will team up with the eel. The eel will flush out the fish, and either the eel will get the fish or it will scare it basically into the waiting trout's mouth.
Wow.
So the eel's just trying to get food, but the trout
Right.
has figured out how to signal the eel where the food is.
Eel has figured out how to understand the trout.
Exactly. So the trout
Yeah.
will use gestures and signals to flag where the prey is. They'll basically point with their body and their head. They'll use head shakes, they'll use head stands. They're pointing out where the prey is.
Go get him,
And-
boy. Go get him. Go
Exactly.
get him. Go get him. What?
And
Everybody else
so
just
we've
moving on.
seen all this.
What? Where are we going? What? Oh, I'll get him. I'll get him, boss. Oh, I'll get him. And learn being able to understand pointing. Like,
Yeah.
chimps aren't good with pointing. You can point
Yeah,
for
that's
chimps and they don't get it. Dogs get it, but chimps don't really get it that well. And here
Yeah.
you've got a trout able to point, a fin, and an eel being like, oh, I totally know what that means.
Yeah. And so they figured out all this collaboration via field observations. And so they were looking at, first of all, the ability to collaborate. Second of all, the ability to pick the right partner.
Yeah,
So
that's very important.
now they did a cross-examination of how the trout do it and how they make their decisions and how effective they are with chimpanzees in a similar experiment. So with the trout, they had coral, they had food hiding in the coral, and they had 2 fake eels. And one eel was really good at scaring out this food, and one was really bad at it. The chimp trial had food on a plank. And if they reached out and they touched the plank and pulled on the plank, the food would roll away from them. But there was a rope tied around the plank. And so if they got their buddy to pull the rope at the same time that they pulled their rope, it pulled the treat back to both of them. Pretty complex thing. But still, you're trying to figure out, okay, who is the best at pulling that rope? Who understands how to pull that rope? I need to get help and enlist the right help to get my treat.
And I'm not as stunned by the chimpanzee research, because chimpanzees are chimpanzees and they hang out together and they speak chimpanzee. You know, they have a common quote-unquote language that they speak in order to get things done. They might not necessarily cooperate all the time, but they do from time. We know that chimpanzees go, some groups of chimpanzees will go out hunting together for prey, that they have group activities that they do. But here it's a trout and an eel. They are disparate species. They are not they're related in that they're fish. But they are not, like, they're disparate. They're not closely related. And so the fact that they live in the same environment and that they hunt similar prey, but they have different body shapes and thus different hunting strategies, has enabled them. They figured out, somehow the trout figured out that it could work with the eel, and the eel figured out what the trout was trying to get it to do.
That's really important for me too, because even if it wasn't a chimp and a chimp, but a chimp and some sort of savanna hog, right? Like a red
river hog.
Red river hog. Thank you. Which is the cutest. I love her. I want her for just such a cute. I love the red river hog. But the red river hog and a chimp working together, you could still go, well, that's interesting, right? That's really interesting. But even that's like, those are somewhat higher intellectually on the animal brain chain. But
from what we think,
you would not think would even be able to communicate from our lofty position on the
this is where
echelons of evolution.
Exactly, and this is where our ideas of what intelligence is and who is intelligent and who is not on this planet, this is where we have to start rebuilding everything.
Yeah. So let me tell you about these results, because this is what's so crazy. The trout, so they had the trout, they did the same number of trials over a similar time frame as the chimps. So they had all of the variables in terms of their sample size and their experimentation period were the same. And when the food was out of reach, when they needed collaboration, the trout were at least as proficient as chimps at determining when they needed to recruit a collaborator. So they did it in 83% of cases. And learned more effectively than chimps did when the collaborator was not necessary. So they figured out easier when they didn't need help. And then when they were given a choice between two eels, one was a good collaborator and one was not, their ability to pick the correct partner was identical to that of chimps.
It's pretty amazing.
There's a couple things here. There's the fact that fish have a lot more going on than we give them credit for.
Eels.
But the other thing is...
Eels. I mean, well, yeah, trout is a eel is a fish. Okay, gotcha.
So the other thing is, and eels are fish too, Justin. So also...
They're not water snakes, really?
No. Very elongated fish.
Is this something that... Is this a convergent thing? Is this where certain animals across taxa have developed the ability to collaborate? Or is this something that species have been doing for millions of years?
Right.
I want to say this is something that species have been doing for millions of years.
Yeah.
I mean, that we have come to communicate with dogs. You know, they have become our partners. Dogs, cats. We've got these animals in our lives. We also have horses that we communicate. People work with animals all the time.
Birds.
And then birds. You see common flocks of birds regularly around San Francisco. You'll see a flock of chickadees and bush tits. Very common that they fly around together. What do they do together? Do they help each other get food? I don't know. I don't know if anybody has ever investigated this question. All we know is that they flock together, and they're not always related species within these flocks. You get different species of sparrows and finches working together in the same area, going after the same food sources. And then and we know that there is communication, that animals have learned to recognize alarm calls of very different species.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then depending on how far back you want to go and what you want to call collaboration, think about corals and zooxanthellae.
Right.
Coral and algae. They collaborate. They have a symbiotic relationship. So at what point is collaboration and symbiosis different? Because I think also, I understand symbiosis, you need each other to survive. Then there's commensalism, where you don't it's not exact. There's all these different levels of collaboration in nature.
I think the one where you say it's where you go beyond evolved symbiotic relationship and say collaboration would have to be something along the lines of one fish pointing with their fin and another fish going, "Oh yeah, got this." I think this is what we're talking about. That's why this is such an amazing story. I think, reaches a level of collaboration beyond just sort of symbiotically having attributes that help one another. Or over millions of years of evolution, I produce this molecule which you need, you produce that molecule that I need. That's why we're a happy microorganism.
But what I'm saying is, no species lives in a vacuum.
No, exactly.
Every species lives in a living, breathing ecosystem where everybody's interacting for millennia. So I think it's unavoidable that species are going to start working together in this way. And I think
it's like
awesome.
It's unavoidable that at some point you lock yourself out of your house and need help from your neighbor.
There you go. But it's so cool and it's awesome, and I never would have expected it. But it's one of those things that after you see it, you can't help but go, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, all right. We're just making so much sense here. I think it's time for us to take a break. We gotta take a break from all this sense making. Go find some nonsense, or just keep listening. We're gonna be back with more nonsensical sense making and science in just a few minutes. I got Jagger lips, people.
I'm excited.
Jagger lips. If you are watching TWIS right now, you probably wonder, hey, how do these people do what they're doing? Well, you know what? We do it because of you and for you, and you make it you allow us to do what we're doing. You do, really. And we have lots of ways we try and keep this show going. Raise a little money, keep it all happening, prime the pumps, keep the gears oiled, all that kind of stuff. One way, we have merchandise. If you head over to TWIS.org and look for our Zazzle store link in the main header bar, you'll be able to find all sorts of fun items that have the TWIS logo all over them. And Zazzle's neat because it prints one-off items, so you can pick the color shirt you want, pick the size of mug you want. You don't have to go with exactly what we put in the store. You can customize the items yourself and get pretty much just what you want with the TWIS logo on it. And my goodness gracious, fall is already upon us. It is coming quickly. I can see it in the air. The light is changing, everyone. That means Christmas is coming, and Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, all the holidays in the winter months. So there are a lot of gift-giving moments that will be coming. So think about giving TWIS as a gift. Buy some merchandise from us, TWIS.org, our Zazzle store. TWIS is also supported by listeners like you through your donations. We have 2 ways you can donate and support what we do with contractors we need to hire: hosting bandwidth, fun things we try to do occasionally. We have PayPal donation buttons all over our TWIS.org website. So if you like PayPal and that makes it easy for you, PayPal, go to TWIS.org, click those buttons, make the donations happen there. Additionally, we have started a Patreon account, patreon.com/thisweekinscience. And Patreon is Patreon, patreon.com/thisweekinscience. It's kind of like a Kickstarter for media producers where we produce our media and you donate a certain amount and our patrons for the productions that we produce, and then you get gifts in return for your levels of support. And I know that Brian Condren, he recently wore a t-shirt on his Irish craft beer show, and I don't know, he's gotten stickers. I've also gotten some pictures from people unboxing, so gifts are getting out there for people who support us. Whichever your preference is, we accept any amount, $2 to $2,000, whatever you're able to give. It helps us keep going, helps us buy equipment like a new web router and different things that actually keep everything working. If you can't afford a donation, however, you can do something very simple. You can use your social network to share TWIS with your friends. That's right. Just tell your friends, your family, all about TWIS. Try and get them listening. And use your networks for science. That's what we need to do. Science for everyone. It only works if we help pass the tool around to everyone. We thank you for your support. We really could not do this without you.
And we're back. You're listening to This Week in Science.
Booyah! We have so much science. How about some loopy birds?
Gimme.
You like them? Loopy birds?
Loopy.
Well, they're not really loopy in the cuckoo cuckoo kind of sense. They're more loopy in the migratorial sense.
Not related to the kookaburra.
No, not related to the kookaburra. Kookaburra? Kookaburra sits in the old. There is a kookaburra. There are many kookaburras,
but they're not migratory.
There's a bird, but nope, they're not migratory. They eat fish and things. Anyway, kookaburras are some of my favorite birds, by the way.
They are
Exactly. I'm not going to go there with my bird impersonations.
Kiki, come on, just do it. Go for it. Just get it out of the way. It's bubbling inside of you. You know you want to. So this is a really quick side tangent. I was at the zoo the other day where they have a kookaburra, and it's normal, a couple of them, and they don't often sing or vocalize a whole lot when we're there checking them out. But there was a woman who was doing basically what you were doing, unabashedly, in front of all the public, making, kookaburra noises.
That's awesome.
And the kookaburra were talking back. It was like there was a conversation going on. It was the most amazing thing. And I tried to recreate it the next day I went to the zoo, and I just looked like an idiot because the kookaburra were like, yeah, you're saying it wrong. It's the wrong dialect. You're using the words, and it's bad grammatically. You're not doing it right.
All right, so tangent not so narrowly averted.
No!
These loopy birds, researchers have published in Proceedings of the Royal Society B. They've coming out of the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, trying to find out where birds go, how they migrate, what paths they take. And Frank Lesort from the lab says, quote, "We're discovering that many more birds than anyone ever suspected fly these looped migrations, where their spring and fall routes are not the same. So they don't follow the same exact path. They get to the same destinations in the end, but the paths are different." And so now they're trying to figure out exactly why and what's happening in the different seasons when the birds are migrating, fall versus spring, or late summer versus early or end of winter, to find out what the birds' priorities are and what's going on. And they found that the birds follow areas of new plant growth in the spring.
Interesting. Now are they taking? Okay, this is more subtangent referencing, but are they all taking the different route together, or have some got one route and another got another route, and they end up in the same location? Because if so, I'm wondering if it's their first migration when they were heading in the right direction but following plants, is that the one that they continue to follow going forward the next season?
So it depends on the species of birds. So some birds are going to be more likely to follow particular kinds of vegetation, looking for particular types of food or habitat that are going to support different prey species. If they're looking for insects or maybe even larger prey, they found in the eastern United States. This is looking at across the United States, they find for eastern species that from atmospheric data, the birds were capitalizing on strong southerly tailwinds in the spring over the Gulf of Mexico. And then they were also capitalizing on less severe headwinds in the fall. But if you add in the plant growth, it explains why the western species here in the west don't just follow a kind of mountain region, north to south, migratory movement. And so, so they find that they're in the relatively continuous forests of the eastern U.S., the association with green vegetation persists all summer into fall. Green space in the west is really only around rivers and mountains. It's much drier out here, and so it's not as much green space, and so it's isolated by desert very often, and so they can't necessarily cross these big stretches of desert to get to the greenest places, and so they stick to the foothills. In the fall, they tend to migrate in the west along browner high elevation routes that take them more directly south. So in the fall, it'll be high elevation, trying to go more directly south, probably taking advantage of wind that's going to help them get down there. And then in the spring, they use the wetter stretches of land as snow melt probably is making areas greener, more towards the coast. And so this is the first research to extend the idea of following vegetation or the green wave from herbivorous species like geese and deer to insectivores, animals that just eat insects, songbirds that eat insects. Yeah, so they analyzed to do this 1.7 million crowdsourced bird checklists from eBird, which is an online birding list program, and they got a picture of the occurrence for every week of the year and then use satellite imagery. It's really kind of neat to be able to use this eBird data to get an idea of what species are doing. So by using these digital mobile apps that we have at our disposal now, you can potentially be helping researchers do their
We are
science.
now all citizen scientists.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's interesting, the migration thing. There's a lot of stuff coming out with bird migration now. Because also I know last week they were looking at passerines, little perching birds, that they noticed that they take a much longer time getting back for the mating season if they're if they're less likely to mate.
That's yeah. That's
They're
study.
kind of like, it can wait.
I can wait. I'm young. That was the story we talked about, the backpackers, the bird backpackers.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. There was another bird story too about bird biodiversity in the neotropics. Like if the neotropical area from Mexico through South America is just a haven for bird species. There's just been evolutionarily this explosion of bird species, and it's just like super rich for, if you're a birder, South America. It's a place to go look at birds. And so the question is, what drives the biodiversity down there? And people have thought historically, well, you have species divergence when geographical things get in the way of species. Like you have an earthquake or something, movements, mountains, rivers form, something happens to separate species from their related populations. And so you have diversification and a new species eventually forms because of isolation. However, researchers doing a DNA analysis have actually determined that it's the other way around, that the geographical changes, the shifts to rivers, mountains, and continents occurred before diversification. And so what probably actually happened, based on the timing of the mutations that are seen, to be able to, and they kind of used the mutational clock to be able to time when each species appeared, and they discovered that it was just species moving around. Species moved past a geographical barrier and then couldn't get
the gladiatorial ones said, I'm going to make it over that mountain. Oh, crap, can't get back.
Exactly. And so then they were isolated kind of by accident, as opposed to by their own accident, as opposed to a geographical accident. So it's just an interesting use of DNA to discover how species diversification has taken place.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, did you have any stories tonight?
Yeah, I was also thinking, wouldn't another factor be sort of the density of the jungles in South America?
Oh, I'm sure.
Because if you did just go, not even over the mountain and not be able to get back, but if you just went,
around
over the
the
next
tree.
hill, if you just went past, a couple miles in one direction or the other, and there was still plenty to eat, there's no pressure to move back or keep moving further on. So part of that too could just be, well, if everywhere is abundant enough and has enough of an ecosystem going on to support life, it's not like you left a forest, had to fly far across a desert, or you had all these little pockets where you could just be a little bit separated and continue on your path. Plus, you don't have to migrate because of weather. It's very equatorial.
It's very equatorial, exactly.
Weather, there's a lot less pressures to be on the move if you're a bird in South America. There's some stories here. These aren't the most interesting stories ever. This one I thought was a bit on the interesting side, though. It says, when people practice simple word classification tasks before going to bed, knowing that a cat is an animal, or Flippu isn't in the dictionary, as the example is given, brain will unconsciously continue to make those classifications even in sleep. Findings reported in Cell Press Journal Current Biology on September 11th show that some parts of the brain behave similarly whether we are asleep or awake, and pave the way for further studies on the perceiving capacity of our sleeping brains. This is some interesting. I really like this story because if they can identify what types of activities you will continue while sleeping, certain things you're not going to keep doing, right? Good part of the brain kind of shuts down, goes in this restorative mode. But if there's active things, if there's parts of the language center, which this is indicating, which remain active while sleeping as when awake, then you could prep yourself with vocabulary, for instance. Some sort of vocabulary categorization before going to bed that you would continue to work on all night. There might actually be something to osmosis as long as you know the right subject. As long as you know the right sort of thing to be studying right before bed, you may get a better payoff on that studying.
Good to know.
Right?
Yeah.
Also, this is sort of interesting. I don't know how sussed out this is, but I'm going to throw it out there. This is linkage between vitamin B1 and brain damage. And if you've been taking your daily vitamins, don't fret. It's a lack of vitamin B1 that they suspect is possible in certain types of brain damage. Yeah. Encephalopathy, which is, it can have a pretty rapid onset and is commonly due to toxic and metabolic factors. They've found this link, right? Well, does the link mean that necessarily you're not getting enough B1 or that you're not uptaking it? This is sort of the sort of thing that still needs to be further sussed out. There were Nikki and Encephalopathy.
Wernicke?
Huh?
It's Wernicke.
Wernicke, that's it. Wernicke. Encephalopathy. This is pretty vicious sounding. I mean, it's got a whole list of symptoms: confusion, hallucination, coma, loss of muscle coordination, vision problems, involuntary eye movements. And yeah, they're saying 80% of Wernicke patients develop Korsakoff syndrome, which also has a profound memory loss, inability to form basic memories, new memories. Can't even remember events within 30 minutes. And they're saying, yeah, very strong to lack of a vitamin.
Which you can get through your diet. So, you'll want, if you think that you are potentially vitamin B1 deficient, you can take a supplement, or you can find it in foods. Yeah.
This is also this is at the University of California, San Francisco. More of a statement paper than anything else, but they identified more than 3,000 clusters of bacterial genes, different body sites, that have cellular factories for producing molecules that they want to study. One of the things that they're looking at is a common bacteria species, Lactobacillus gasseri, which is usually found in the vajayjay and creates a molecule that is an antibiotic. And so what they're kind of looking at is, hey, wow, our bodies are already covered with pharmaceutical companies, tiny, tiny little ones that are creating molecules that do good stuff to keep our body healthy. Maybe we should start paying closer attention and see what these molecules could be on a larger scale. Perhaps overreaching, perhaps not. That someday the microbes that are already on our bodies now could produce drugs that would rival pharmaceutical companies. But still, seems like we should have been looking into this already. But now somebody is, thankfully.
I think that with the source of drugs or source of pharmaceuticals or whatever, I mean, in many cases, it's not necessarily the bacteria being a source for a specific drug. It's a source for components that will allow our body to produce stuff itself. Like there's such an interplay. Like we were talking about cooperation between the fish and the eel. We've got such a delicate balance and interplay, symbiosis with the bacteria that live on us and in us, that we could potentially, you get rid of a certain bacterium in the gut, it messes up your vitamin B12, I believe. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but you end up with ulcers as a result. And there are B vitamin production issues related to bacteria in our guts. And so, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's a great deal of collaborative or symbiotic relationships in the microflora that we have because they've been developed over millions and millions of years.
Millions and millions.
And stepping back, I know we were talking about B1 before. I found some foods high in B1. Are you ready? Fish, pork, nuts, seeds, bread, green peas, squash, asparagus, soybeans, and beans.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thumb wars.
Yes.
We like to have thumb wars. It's why our thumbs evolved. No.
Wait,
No.
is that how we did it?
No, some researchers at
Right, doing like this at each other.
yeah, it's better than having no thumbs and trying to have a thumb war. Uh, so we have thumbs. Our thumbs are incredibly dexterous compared to related species that also have 5 digits and a thumb-like appendage. There's gorillas, for instance, have a thumb-like appendage. However, it's just not as movable and more maneuverable as our thumb. So what was it that led our thumb to evolve? How did it end up becoming the thumb that can give a thumbs up?
Tools.
Tools, exactly. Tools.
Tools.
That's what researchers think. So,
But wait. I thought the opposable thumb is how we got to use tools.
well,
How could the tools come before the thumb if the thumb
evidence.
tool?
Nope. There is evidence that, lots of species
No,
without
'cause this
thumbs
would
use
be-
tools.
This would be somewhat
Lots of-
Lamarckian
No.
in its development.
The idea being lots of species use tools. We would have been without a very dexterous thumb at one point in our evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yet, maybe we tried to do things like knock rocks together, throw things, and individuals who had more maneuverable thumbs were able to do things better, like make flint, start fires, create arrowheads, spearheads, things that they needed to fight off the big bad uglies that tried to eat them in the night. And so the researchers got people together who are experts at making flint, at actually making stone tools, and they got pressure gauges and analyzed the forces and frequency of use of the thumb and the fingers in the hands during a stone tool production. And they found a stone tool that would have been similar to one of the early tools that hominid species used. They found that it's not the dominant hand that was important. It's the non-dominant hand that was really important.
Nice.
So it's the non-dominant thumb actually became the key, potentially, to leading to the larger, stronger, bigger, better thumb that we have now.
I'm trying to picture that and why it's the non-dominant thumb that's so important.
So what they suggest is that in the tool forming process, your dominant hand is probably going to be the one that's striking.
Right. So you're stabilizing with the other one.
Stabilizing with the other one. And they found that the thumb was relied upon, excuse me, the thumb was on the non-dominant hand was relied upon most strongly during repositioning events.
So I kind of like the idea of this, but I don't quite buy it for stone tool use. Seems like this would be much more of a. At the beginning, it actually says grabbing clams while swimming. We know a lot of our ancestors were, eating the clams, shelling them. That seems like a dexterous thumb type activity.
That maybe needed a tool.
Even with the tool, though, using the tool. It'd be more using the tool.
So even if you picture shelling a clam, it is your non-dominant hand that needs to hold the clam to shell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which still indicates it's your non-dominant hand.
Right. I feel like there's a point in time back in our history where it wasn't a woman's curves. It wasn't the ankles. It wasn't even the eyes. Oh no, it's not the breasts or the backside. Check out her thumbs. Wow.
That's right. Evolved to help us survive. Our thumbs.
Zorgina's not much to look at, but that woman has a thumb like you wouldn't believe.
And on that note, Blair, tell me about whale pelvises.
Oh, let's do. So, whale pelvises are the classic vestigial structure. You look at a whale skeleton anytime you Google or you look at a picture of a whale skeleton in a textbook, it's this floating pelvis in the middle of nowhere. And they say that it's just from the fetal development, it shrinks, but it doesn't go away all the way. So it's a vestigial bone used for nothing. I remember learning that in school as well. Well, now it looks like
They don't use those either.
the toes. Well, the toes are important.
Oh.
It helps them with stabilizing their fins. But anyway, so the hips, they thought they weren't important at all. But some scientists decided to go through in a 4-year project, go through boxes of whale bones at the places where you store many, many whale bones. They went through all of these whale bones and they looked at the pelvis size. They were at the Smithsonian Institution and they were also at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. Those are the 2 largest collections of marine mammal cetacean bones, so whale bones. So they made this whole rubric of all of these whale pelvis sizes and weights. They also noted that the muscles that control the male copulatory organ anchor onto the penis or onto the pelvis. Hello, Freudian slip. So the penis muscles anchor onto the pelvis. So it looks like maybe the pelvis isn't useless. So then they looked at these pelvis bones, they weighed them, and then they looked at historical data, whaling data, current survey data of testes size of whales. And they have been able to tell in a previous study that testes size is larger with promiscuous whale species. And they found that the more promiscuous the whale, the larger and heavier the pelvis bone. And they made sure that this wasn't just that they had a larger skeleton in general by correcting that in relation to rib size. So they kept all of the rib sizes of all of these whales as well. And independent of the rib size, the pelvis size was larger comparatively if the whale was promiscuous. So most likely, the pelvis size is related to sexual prowess, I guess, the ability for these male whales to propagate more DNA in the promiscuous species. So the pelvis is most likely not vestigial and it has a purpose. I think it's so awesome.
That is awesome. The pelvis of whales, not vestigial, purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Can we call it the purposeful pelvis?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. I also have an interesting story. I've been teasing it the whole show. If I only had lips like Jagger.
Yes.
If I only had lips like Jagger. Just like an ancient swamp creature.
I was doing the cock walk too. Did you notice?
You gotta get the... Anybody listening to the podcast right now, you have no idea what's going on, but all three of us are making Jagger lips and
we
swinging
actually
our
have the
shoulders
moves like
around.
Jagger. Just
Got
so
the
you know.
moves like Jagger. That's right. Anyway, an ancient swamp creature might have had the lips like Jagger as well. And researchers from Wake Forest University have, and the group who found, and Duke University, who found this animal's fossil, have given it the scientific name Jaggermeryx naida. And this translates to Jagger's water nymph. I think Mick Jagger must be pretty happy about this.
I love it.
Jagger's water nymph now. I love the name. It was
Describe it. My favorite thing.
Describe it.
I'm
So
excited.
this was it's an extinct hoofed animal, part of the Anthracotheres group, and it's one of 6 species found at this site in the Egyptian desert, which is now used to be a swampy area, but now is rock and sand dunes and desert. Um, the jawbone suggests that it was about the size of a small deer, like a slender hippo or a long-legged pig.
Both adorable.
Both adorable, right? I want to see a
wanna
picture
see
of
it.
this animal. And so what they figured the lips would be, because if you're thinking lips are soft tissue. Soft tissue doesn't fix. It doesn't stay as a fossil, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare that we see this. So where the idea that this animal had big old lips came from is that it has a series of tiny holes on either side of the jaw through which nerves would have protruded. And so by seeing those holes in the jaw and understanding that anatomically that's how nerves would have gotten out and innervated the soft tissue around the jaw, it can be assumed that the animal had, quote, the Coast co-author Greg Gunnell from Duke University, probably had highly innervated muzzle with mobile and tactile lips, thus the Jagger reference. Yeah, so it probably ate a lot of plants, and they think that it had a very, very sensitive snout to forage along riverbanks and to scoop up plants with its lower teeth and large lips. And the Jaggermerix fossils are in collections at Duke University, the Cairo Geological Museum, and Cairo University. They were found, and Justin, you'll love this, they were found alongside fossilized catfish, turtles, water birds, and crocodile poop.
Wait, which part was I supposed to... Was it the poop part I was supposed to like?
Yeah.
Crocodile poop. Look at
crocodile
this
poop.
artist rendering. He's so adorable.
Yes, so in the artist's rendering, if you can imagine a hippo with kind of a slender hippo, a little bit thinner, longer legs, and a slender, more horse-like face with big lips. Big lips.
It kind of looks like a slender hippo with the head of one of the dinosaurs from that 1990s Jim Henson show, Dinosaurs. I think his head looks just like
Kind of
that.
looks like a rhino face without the horn.
Yeah, slender in that sense, yeah. The researchers say that they were huge Mick Jagger fans, or are huge Mick Jagger fans. They almost named the fossil after Angelina Jolie because she also is an example of large lips in Hollywood.
This is much better.
But we like Jaggermerix naida. Jaggermerix naida, Jagger's water nymph. It's got lips.
Love it.
That's one. I love that story. It just cracks me up. All right, everybody. I think we've gotten to the end of the show. What you say? You guys have stories you want to bring up?
I'm done.
I'm good.
You're good? Awesome. Okay. So before I get into our shout outs, I have a special email that I want to read, some images that I want to bring up. So with this, I got a letter from a TWIS listener. And his name is Anthony Perez. He's on the left in this image, and it's his son who is on the right, his son James. And Anthony writes, "Hello, Kirsten, Blair, and Justin. I just want to thank you all so much. 5 years ago, while trying to kindle a spark in my 11th grade son, James, I gave him my iPod to listen to your show, and he really took an interest, so much so that he listened on his own and read all my Brian Greene. He'll be a senior next month at UCSB as a bio major and has been on honors list since he started his first 2 years at UC Merced and where he is now. Today is his birthday, and this was an email from yesterday, so I believe yesterday was his birthday. He's 21 years old. He is doing research, so doesn't make it home as often as I'd like, but I promise he still calls me on Thursdays to ask to meet in TWIS chat room so we can watch together and it gives me serious joy when he does.
Aw.
I've never heard you give shout-outs for birthdays, but we did hear my name when reading out for Patreon, so no worries if it's not policy. He he attached his honors award from UC Merced. I have not received it from UCSB, yes, but I will send transcripts if you like, and I don't mind. I love to brag. Well, you should too, because I sincerely believe you and your show are a reason he did so well. I tell him my dream is to hear him interviewed on TWIS. Wow, talk about full circle. From Anthony Perez. So happy birthday, James. Happy 21st birthday. We hope that you keep the science up, and I can't wait to interview you. Cannot wait. Yeah. And now.
I can't go on.
What?
He said he was too verklempt and he couldn't go on.
Oh, yeah. Verklempt. Seriously, stuff like that, it's the reason we do this. And so thank you for that email. That it really means a lot.
Yeah.
All of us here.
So great.
Yeah. Happy birthday, James. Thanks, Anthony. And here are our shout outs to our Patreon sponsors this week. I'd like to shout out to Kevin Donald Wesley Ballard, Paul D. Disney, Sam Winzier, John Ratnaswamy, Rudy Garcia, Aubrey Burgess, Patrick Cohn, Stephen B., Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Andreas Akestad, and Jason Roberts. Shane and Tara Ginsburg, Brian Condren, Byron Lee, E.O., Bob Calder, Jared Lysette, Ulysses Adkins, Jake Jones, Cassie Lester, Chris Cross, Sarah Chavez, Steven Srowiech, Layla Amir Sadeghi, Paul Stanton, Marshall Clark, Charlene Davidson Henry, Violated Gorilla, Don Kamarechka, Randy Mazuka, Ed Dyer, and Tony Steele. And Larry Garcia, Kevin Parachan, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, Darren Lute, Tara Payne, Alex Wilson, Daryl Lambert, John H. Maloney, Jason Olds, Lord Trentonian Moody, Gordon Grant, James, Paul West, Lauren Lang, Ed Bennett, Thomas Mikinen, Alec Doty, Aluma Lama, Nick Gradwell, Dan Rambo, Dougal Campbell, TMRO, Miko Pakala, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Jason Martin, Marjorie Scott Lajewski, Philip Shane, Tyler Harrison, Ben Rothig, Colombo, Ahmed, and Gary Swinsberg. Thank you so much for your support. On next week's show, once again, we are going to be broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. Pacific Time on twis.org/live, where you can watch and join our chat room. Do that. It's a fun place. Nice people hang out there. But don't worry if you can't make it. You can find our past episodes at youtube.com/users/thisweekinscience or at twis.org if you want to listen to them. Don't forget to tell a friend about TWIS, to check into our Patreon page, patreon.com/thisweekinscience.
Thank you for enjoying the show. TWIS is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile type device, you can look for TWIS for Droid app in the Android market spot or the TWIS TWIS in the Apple market thingy. Are you okay, Blair?
I think Blair's gone internetedly verklempt.
I can't tell if Blair's lost it or the connection might go. All right, for more information on anything here today, show will be available on our website, www.twis.org, where you can also make comments, start conversations with the hosts and other listeners. Or you can hit us up directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, in case I haven't spelled it enough, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for some more great science news.
And if you have learned anything from tonight's show, remember,
it's all in your head.
science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. This week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address. From stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
What? You're muted. Not anymore. It's now the after show, everyone. It's time for us to be after. Can you hear me? I don't hear Blair.
I was miming.
You're miming. We might have to take you out back, have you shot. I don't know. For miming.
Horrible miming. All right.
For mobile users.
Apparently, I was looking in the chat room, and Bugsy will get to see the Northern Lights. I am so
jealous.
Jealous,
Bugsy.
Super jealous.
Super jealous.
Like, oh my god, I'm so jealous.
My goodness.
Oh my god.
So jealous.
Oh my god. Careful.
So supposedly there's supposed to be some kind of app, but I don't think it loaded right, where people were supposed to be able to like watch and give feedback as we went along the show, but I don't think
What?
yeah, it's kind of like the during the presidential debates, they have like this live thing and people can like it's like giving hand claps or whatever. It's like yay, 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 and you can watch the graph go up or down during the show and actually see when people are not excited to be watching or when they are excited to be watching.
Oh, screw that.
It's bad.
That's
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to
Listening
see.
thing?
It would be fun to see.
Constant thumbs up, thumbs down feedback as the show's going on.
Shh,
I had a bunch of. That's just dumb.
Really?
It is. You know, like, I'm sorry. If I failed to entertain you for this 10 seconds of your life, go jump off a bridge. Really. That's
Oh,
my
boy.
attitude on that one.
Oh boy, aggressive.
This is the
Yeah.
kind of show that it's the full
What are
content.
you worried about
that you
there,
walk away
Justin?
from.
I don't know. Why am I still
Later.
on me? There we go.
As you sleep, perhaps, and dream, continuing the speculation on that science story to find the solution all night long, your brain working on it. That's what this show does. It's not the 10-second feedback that matters.
I think you're
And
confused
actually, if
about
you've
which
tuned in,
world
please
we
don't
live
jump off
in.
a bridge. I didn't really mean that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you didn't really mean that, right, Justin?
No, I didn't mean that.
No. Take it back. Take it back.
But if you are going to jump off a
Backseat.
bridge and you haven't donated to Patreon yet, that would be the perfect time. Before you've jumped off the bridge, go ahead and put a big number up. It doesn't matter. You don't care anyway. You're going to go jump off a bridge. That's the time to put the really big number up on the Patreon. And
Speaking of bridge jumping,
Oh.
there was two studies related to depression this last week. One suggested that when
should
it's
work
been
more.
no, that sun is a trigger for suicide. That when people have been depressed for a long time and it's been gray and cloudy and it kind of gets you down, when there is a stretch of sun that for about 10 to 14 days, it starts getting people more activated and more motivated, and sometimes more motivated to kill themselves.
More
And so
motivated.
And so there are more suicides in the spring months.
Interesting. I would not have
Weird.
suspected.
Right?
Very weird.
It's very strange. Yeah, it's kind of backwards. You would think the sun is out. It's going to make you happy. It'll help you, like, you can go outside. You can do things. You can maybe get out of your slump, but...
Not a story that I ended up bringing, but I've lost it. But it was one I was perusing that suggested a good thing to do when facing bouts of depression is throw yourself into your work. And although I don't have the story. I can't quote it. My assumption is that just means, well, work sucks, and we all acknowledge that it sucks. So if life sucks, just work more. All right, it's already terrible. You already don't like your job, maybe. Yeah, just work harder. But actually throwing yourself into activities to keep your mind off of things, I think, was the actual impetus.
Yeah, and I think the study that you're talking about, actually, it was instead of like taking sick days and saying, I'm not feeling well, letting your depression take you away from work, where you would be isolated and have more, it would cycle into greater depression, that it's better to not take days off of work and to get to go more, be at work. It's better to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I saw.
Bugsy said we should just visit the Northwest. I think that we should. I think we should do a twist from the Northern Lights. What do you think?
That would be
we'll have
awesome.
to know when they're coming, and then we'll have to hop on a plane immediately.
Blair, you've been with the show for how long?
Over 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would assume that you have figured out that, one, I am down for anything, and two, I am going to organize nothing.
That is that is the truth.
That's
Right?
beauty.
Whatever it is,
Truth.
I'll do it, but I am not going to organize a damn thing or put a damn thing together because it's not gonna happen if it's on me. So plan it, and I'll be there. I'll just show up.
Done. Great.
Oh, Funga Man, you don't like the song Happy?
He also doesn't like my backdrop. What is that, Funga Man? You don't like my backdrop? If you don't like it, donate more to Patreon, and I'll buy a better backdrop. I like it, though. I feel like I'm either underwater or in a giant coral, which would also be underwater.
So basically, underwater.
But doesn't it kind of look like brain coral? It kind of looks like a zoom in on brain coral.
I like it. I think it works. And it makes your lighting better, which we discussed earlier.
It does make my lighting much better. I can always get, other backdrops. It's not the only one I'm ever going to have necessarily, but I like it for now.
I feel like I'd be a good therapist, or a good suicide hotline person. I feel like I'd do a good job at that. I feel like I could snap somebody out of a depression, but then I also feel like the results could be like Best in Show when the guy who's in charge of talking down all the suicide jumpers is like, little trade secret, they all jump. Everybody jumps. Hey, there's nothing you could do about it, right? It could end that way. But I feel like if somebody was depressed, I'd be like, about what? What's there to be depressed about? There's no point to life. Life is meaningless. If there was a point, nobody on the planet would be achieving this point, this thing that people were supposed to do. Like, nobody would be doing it. Nobody gets there. There'd be no way that everybody could get to the one place that everybody you're supposed to be at. There's no way to get there. Life, the beautiful thing about life is it is pointless. It's a bunch of freaking random things that happen. Experiences are good or bad, indifferent, whatever it is. It's all this. It's just pointless. It's just the freedom, though. There's no pressure. No pressure on you whatsoever to have this, that, the other experience in this world. Find little things. That's what's big. The big stuff's a lob job, con job. It's all
little thing. Blue frogs. Little thing.
Depression.
Blue frogs.
Depression.
Yeah, depression is nefarious.
Melancholy, grieving.
Horrible.
I think those are processes. Just being depressed.
Hey, you guys.
You don't get it.
What do you call a fish that's missing an eye?
No eye fish. What do you call a deer with no eyes?
What?
No idea. What do you call a deer with no eyes and no legs?
What?
Still no idea?
How do you get an elephant into a refrigerator?
How? I have no idea.
You open the door, you put the elephant in the refrigerator, and you close the door.
What do you get when what did the genetic...
How do you get a giraffe into the refrigerator?
Oh, I got this one. You open the door to the refrigerator.
Uh-huh.
You cut the top of it off, and you put the giraffe in there, and then you close the door. What?
You open the door, you take out the elephant, you put the giraffe in, and then you close the door.
What do you get when what did the geneticist get when he crossed the rhinoceros with the elephant? What did the geneticist get when he genetically crossed
it's
the
irrelevant.
Rhinoceros with the elephant?
I don't know. What?
Anybody?
No.
Oh.
Oh. You guys don't know this one?
No. You gonna help us out here?
Oh, hell if I know.
Okay, all right. I have another one. So, the lion, the king of the jungle, is having this huge banquet. He invites all of the animals from the jungle. Who is missing from the banquet?
So there's no owl there.
The giraffe is in the refrigerator. All right, one more. So you're crossing this river.
Jokes like this make me so happy.
You're crossing this river. This river, a bunch of man-eating crocodiles live in this river. How do you get across?
Wait, say it again. So what's the premise?
You need to cross this river, but the river is inhabited by man-eating crocodiles. How do you get across?
Well, you'll be fine, but I'll be in trouble.
You swim because all of the crocodiles are at the banquet.
This joke keeps going and going, doesn't it?
I'm done. That's it. I'm done.
So those blue frogs that I showed you, it
Poison
turns
dart
out... No, they are not poison dart frogs. They are moor frogs, moorland frogs, Rana arvalis. And normally they're colored various shades of brown, stained to resolve the contours and blend in with the foliage. My site has been... What? You've got lots of stormtroopers on your shirt. But for a week for courtship, the males turn blue during mating season. Yeah, they only turn blue during mating season. So in April, for about a week, they become blue for their loves.
You know, this would be a really convenient adaptation if human females were to pick up this sort of a hint from the frog world. You know? Lady in red means it's okay. Oh, you're wearing red today. Oh, it's a red clothing day. Nice. You know, just be a little heads up.
You know, I knew a guy once. He was a martial arts instructor, and he used to say that when a woman wears war paint, you know what she's after. And he was talking about red lipstick.
Red lipstick, yeah.
Yeah, that guy is also probably he may be a date raper. I mean, that's probably in his profile.
I don't know. I think he was just...
Red lipstick means no. Well, actually, there have been studies that based on the amount of makeup a woman wears,
it's about what other women think of them, though. It was because we did that study recently. I remember, but it was like, it was the women judged the other women thinking that they were loose or whatever because they had red lipstick on. But it's all silly, obviously, because we have speech. So
that's right.
We also don't have a mating season. We also don't have any of this other stuff. So it's like, it's not really real. It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. Everett Steve is saying, Dr. Kiki, don't let them show you up. I can't help it. I don't have any jokes. I have no jokes. This is the one part of social life that I have never been able to master. I'm pretty good at small talk. I'm, always got something great up my sleeve for cocktail party conversation. Good at figuring out when people are comfortable, uncomfortable. I can see those kinds of cues. Jokes. I can't remember a single joke to save my life. No, that's a lie. I remember one joke only, and that's it. I only have one joke.
Well, we all have obstacles in life.
I know.
Some more than others.
I can't remember anything.
I was actually born with both a male and a female organ.
Your brain?
Penis and a brain.
Okay.
Well. What did the boy octopus say to the girl octopus?
I don't know what did the boy octopus say to the girl octopus?
I want to hold your hand. I
like that. See, I enjoy these jokes a lot, but I will not remember them tomorrow.
What's the sea monster's favorite food? Fish and chips.
The sea monster's favorite food.
Fish and chips.
What?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
What is the fish's least favorite day? Friday.
Friday?
Friday.
Because they get fried?
Yeah.
Why did the shark cross the road?
Why?
Just for the halibut.
That was one of my favorite songs ever. Dr. Demento song. What was it called? But that was like a big part of it. It was like swimming through the ocean, and it was all fish puns. The entire song was fish puns.
Well, it wasn't. It was Dr. Demento's show.
Dr. Demento's show. I don't remember
But it
was, but it was all fish puns.
Who always makes fun of songs?
No, I don't think it was.
Yes.
I don't think so.
What's his name? How come I can't remember his name? Weird Al Yankovic.
I don't think it's Yankovic.
Weird Al. It's going to be Weird Al. Go ahead and Google it. But it's going to be Weird Al.
Ooh, maybe this is it. Let's Get Tanked or Wet Dream by Kip Adoda.
Oh.
There it is.
Wasn't Weird Al.
Kip Adoda. See if
How
I can
can
get
you
the
tell
lyrics.
a baby grand from a fish?
Wait, what?
A baby grand?
A baby grand from a fish.
What is this joke from the 1920s?
Does it have something to do with scales?
You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find lyrics to... No lyrics. I'm looking for the lyrics. CR1. You can't be that old. Yeah, old enough to remember Dr. Demento.
I like the Dr. Demento show. I do.
Oh my god. I found another joke I really like. I'm sorry. I found my source of fish jokes. I forgot some of them. What do you call a fish with a tie?
What?
Sophisticated.
Sophisticated. I love this.
That joke is so terrible. I can't believe I didn't write it.
It was April the 41st. Being a quadruple leap year, I was driving in downtown Atlantis. My Barracuda was in the shop, so I was in a rented Stingray, and it was overheating. So I pulled into a Shell station. They said I'd blown a seal. I said, fix the damn thing and leave my private life out of it. Okay, pal? While they were doing that, I walked over to a place called the Oyster Bar, a real dive. But I knew the oyster. Knew the owner. He used to play for the Dolphins. I said, hi, Gil. You have to yell. He's hard of hearing. Gil was also down on his luck. Fact is, he was barely keeping his head below water. I gullied up to the sandbar. He poured the usual. Rusty snail, hold the grunion, shankin', not stirred, with a peanut butter and jellyfish sandwich on the side, heavy on the mako. I slipped him a fin on porpoise. I was feeling good. I even dropped a sand dollar in the box for Jerry's squids, for the halibut.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the place was crowded. We were packed in like sardines. They were all there to listen to the big band sounds of Tommy Dorsal. What soul! Tommy was rocking the place with a very popular tuna, Sam Enchanted Evening. And the stage was surrounded by screaming groupers, probably there to see the bass player. One of them was his cute little yellowtail, and she's giving me, bass player, right, giving me the eye. So I figure this is my chance for a little fun, a piece of Pisces. But she said things I just couldn't fathom. She was too deep and seemed to be under a lot of pressure. Boy, could she drink. She drank a lot. I said, what's your sign? She said, Aquarium. I said, great, let's get tanked. And that's how it goes. There's more to it. But I love this freaking song. It's so funny. So funny.
Did you find it on YouTube?
I did find it on YouTube. I'll
Nice.
post it. I'll post a link.
Yeah, put it in the chat room.
Put it in the chat room.
How do shellfish get to the hospital, Kiki?
How?
Wait,
In
wait,
a
wait.
ambulance.
The Clambulance! I should have known. Oh my gosh, it has a whole video. Oh my gosh. Like a real music video. What? This is... I love this! I have to share it with you guys. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
put it in the daily.
Crack me up. Cracking me up. Oh my goodness. Oh, Kevin Unique. Ha 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 ha. He says this conversation has sunk to new depths. Whoa. Wah, wah. Erican AK says, what is gray and wrinkled and writes gloomy poetry? TS Elephant. Writes for Robots is asking, what lies at the bottom of the ocean and shivers? I have no idea. A nervous wreck. I like that one. I give you claps. Blair, I'm looking at Blair watching this right now.
Oh my goodness! I only just now got that. They said I'd blown a seal. I just got it. I didn't get it the first time when you said it.
There's so many. It's just pun after pun after pun, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely
the bridge.
brilliant.
I got to the bridge.
Yes, the bridge. It's a wet dream. Ooh, ooh.
Now I remember this song.
I used to just wait for this to come on, Dr. Demento. I'd be like, I want to hear that song again.
It's the Dr. Demento show.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like our after show should go a little bit more Dr. Demento-y direction.
No cerebellum. A woman was found without a cerebellum, and she's alive.
Wait, there was a woman with a cerebellum?
And
Born?
most people are born with a cerebellum. The cerebellum is this part of your brain. It's attached underneath the cortical regions in the back.
So what you're
attached
saying,
to the brain
is
stem.
a woman could be missing a big part of her brain and still function like an ordinary, everyday, normal woman?
Not exactly completely normal, but could still function. She's one of only something like 9 people in the whole world to have been discovered to actually have this kind of a problem. She lived just her whole life. She had motor and speech deficiencies, so she didn't walk until she was 7 years old, and she only got legible speech at the age of 6. So the cerebellum is really important for motor coordination and speech. So that totally makes sense. The amazing thing is that, she's had walking trouble most of her life, but just the rest of her brain took up the slack. Like her whole brain took up the slack, allowed her to not have, no cerebellum. There is a hole in her head. In the picture, the brain scan, I'll show you the brain scan. Like there is a hole in her head. It's like there's this empty spot. It's ridiculous. So this is my Dr. Demento moment. No cerebellum. So bottom image is the normal cerebellum. See it down there.
He was covered in muscles.
That's right. He was covered in muscles. The bottom image, that is cerebellum. Top image, there's nothing there. Just a hole. Like, how do you just not grow a cerebellum? What instructions was her brain missing that she just didn't grow a cerebellum? The cerebellum is so important to so many things. And it's just amazing that she survived first. I mean, she should not have lived past early part of life. You would expect that not to happen. She's a big hole. There's nothing there. Just nothing. The brain took over. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, we've seen this too before, where a left or right portion of the brain is damaged.
Will be damaged or missing. Yeah.
Other aspects of the brain take up the duties that should have been performed by the area prescribed to normally deal with these things. Brain finds a way.
The brain finds a way. I will agree with that. What else? So we could go a little more Dr. Demento-y, or even what's the other late night show that everybody loves?
Coast to
Coast AM. That's right. We could go a little more post-show coast to coasty.
I can bring the alien news update.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there aliens?
Well, yeah, the perspective of aliens, if you just suspend all disbelief and believe every report of an alien that's been presented to us, what is the one thing that they all have in common? What do the aliens look like? And what do they do when they get
An upside down nose.
how many legs do they have?
Aliens have 2 legs and 2 arms and really big foreheads. They have gray skin and big black shiny eyes, and they like to stick things
How many eyes?
in
How many eyes?
rednecks' butts.
2.
Okay. So, evolutionarily speaking, what are the chances that a completely separate evolution takes place on some other planet and produces a great
Bipeds?
ape? Right? Pretty much, it's got to be next to nil. Next step, why are they probing people in the butt? Who does that?
Yeah, why? It's a good
Who would
question.
do such a thing like that?
What information, if they are able to fly to the planet Earth, what can they figure out that they didn't already know by poking us in the butt?
So, only possible solution is, for evolutionarily, for them to be so much humanoid-like, they must in fact be humans. Obviously, they look different, so that's some sort of distant future evolution of humans that have discovered time travel and are coming back in time to revisit. Well, what are they doing? Are they getting involved in politics or current events?
You want
No.
fecal transplants!
There it is! There it is! Future microbiologists. Coming from the future when the microbe of the human gut has been so depleted by space travel or antibiotics that they need some of that paleo, or whatever we're going to be called, microbiome. So that's why they got to stick a little thing up there. It's to get a sample of the microbes to bring to the future to replenish the microflora.
People poop
Alien
makes the
problem
future
solved.
people happy.
They're scientists, people. Comply. The future depends on you.
Why aren't they just swabbing toilets?
Wait, what? Aren't they what?
I feel like they could get it other ways besides anal probing.
Okay, look, what's the most efficient way? Get a good sample quickly.
Toilets have the potential of having other bacteria in them that they would not be representative of the actual intestinal microflora. So the
Wouldn't you rather go?
And excuse me, pardon me, I'm a funny-looking, alien-looking thing. Can I borrow your? Where's the bathroom? I don't even know how to ask for it. We don't even go to the bathroom anymore. I don't even know what that is.
Okay, riddle me this then. I feel like going through the butt is the wrong way to go. You should be going to the intestine, which means you need like some big needle.
Look, I understand, Blair. If you feel like that's the wrong way to go, it's not all about you, though. I mean, granted, that would be mostly about you, but it's also about what's
fecal matters.
The fecal matters. I mean, and you want colon. You don't want to miss. You don't want to be poking around with the needle. You know where the colon is. The best way to get it. This is how you get it. This is how you get the sample. This is the fecal transplant to save the future of America. Maybe, I don't know. Might not be America anymore. Might be a Zorga. Who knows? It's the future. Oh, and why spaceships? Why spaceships? Not only do we have them, but because of Justin's ideas of time travel, if you travel in time, you're not necessarily traveling in space. So even if you go back in time 24 hours, the planet wasn't here. It's moving at 30,000. It's 30,000 miles away or something, right? Never mind the spinning. It's actual travel. And then the solar system's moving. All these galactic transgressions. Who knows? You know that whatever spot you popped into 24 hours ago, or 24 hours from now, or whatever it is, the planet's gonna be there, maybe. But where is it now? It's really far away. So you need a spacecraft just to be able to get back from where you moved in time to where Earth is in space. Might be a long way, might not be very far. You need to get back there, and you're not going to do it. I'm sure we've invented time travel several times, and the time traveler who tried to go back in time a couple hours ended up somewhere past Mars and just, never was heard from again. Don't time travel without a spaceship. DeLorean's not enough. DeLorean doesn't have life support, propulsion that can move you in space. You need, and don't buy a DeLorean anyway, even if you're trying to drive a car. It's a horrible car.
How about H.G. Wells' time machine? What about that thing?
The company went bankrupt because the car they built was so bad.
That thing didn't even have any sort of compartment or door. The H.G. Wellsian time machine.
Yeah, that's just trouble. So aliens are from the future. They're coming back in time to replenish fecal matter. Other than that, they really don't care. They don't want a whole lot to change because it screws with the future timeline. They don't want to do that. That's why anybody who's ever been abducted is completely insignificant to the future of humanity. That's how you can tell. They got abducted by aliens in anal probe, and everybody went, oh, whatever. I don't know if I even believe that they exist.
My favorite episode of South Park to this day, still.
Wasn't that the
original?
first
I think it was the
ever?
first season. Yeah, it might have been the first ever. It might have been the first episode. Classic.
Yeah.
There is nothing up my butt. But I think he said ass instead. Fecal matter, a movement we can all get behind. Thank you, CR1. Yes. Yes, thank you for that. Time traveling. So somehow we just totally went coast to coast right there. That was aliens and time travel.
Next,
and
ghosts.
Fecal transplants.
I can also do ghosts.
No ghosts.
Let's wait.
No, I can do ghosts. I can totally have ghosts. Totally have ghosts. There was somebody who believes in ghosts has been talking to me about this hotel room in which a princess was, and they'd taken in the recording devices and were like talking to the princess, like, "Princess, are you there? Princess, are you there?" and heard nothing. But later on the recording device, they could hear the princess's voice saying, "Of course I'm here. Where are you?" She has all these sorts of things like, well, there's physical vibrations of air, which have to translate to an eardrum of a ghost that doesn't know it's a ghost because it's saying, "Of course I am, but where are you?" It's a time rift, right? That's why ghosty things always seem to happen in the same places. But why do they always happen there? Maybe because it's always been happening there. And the fact that we're interacting with them, and an interaction, a cognitive interaction, means we just talked over time and space. So the really interesting thing would be, next time you think you're experiencing a ghost, ask them to carve their initials on the back of the closet. And tell them to do it really thick.
What?
And then go check in the back of the closet or under the bed. And if the initials are carved there, you know it's time, wibbledy-wobbliness, and not a ghost.
Because a ghost couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And but what if it wasn't? What if that house wasn't there before?
If it is some sort of time wibbledy-wobbliness, the time of an area, so it brings the attraction of people who are looking for ghosts to a specific location, right? The people who first experienced a ghost there 200 years ago, because it has to be, for a place to get a reputation of ghosts and strange sounds, has to have been going on for a really long time. So maybe the people who heard the ghost 200 years ago were actually overhearing a film crew of ghost hunters taking pictures everywhere, saying, "Ghosts, where are you?" And what they heard was, "Ghosts." Back 200 years ago, that's the thing they focused on. Ghosts, click, 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 weird sounds, right? Strange audio, and they were ghosts, and they're going, "Ghost." So this could be just, we're talking back and forth over hundreds or thousands of years in a wibbly-wobbly time space, and everybody thinks it's ghosts, when it's just bad communication. Right. Bigfoot? Should we do Bigfoot?
Bigfoot also?
Mm-hmm.
You've got one for everything.
So, Bigfoot, there's a place that's...
Neanderthal?
that said,
Yeah.
send us anything to do with Bigfoot and we will analyze it for free. And they've got bears, they got raccoons, they got humans, they got everything, but they've never come up with anything that seems like it's a separate species or couldn't be easily identified through its genome. The one genetic evidence of a Bigfoot was done by somebody who is not a geneticist and never published the results, but claimed to have found proof. What else is there? Loch Ness? Loch Ness? Loch Ness?
Yeah.
Well, that could be a time portal.
Guy who faked them admitted it, and they've never found anything, and no, dinosaur could not live that long.
Dinosaur could not
Well,
live
but
that
see,
long.
that could be one of your time wibbledy-wobblies. Because that could be an ichthyosaur.
Yeah, you know, I would give it credit if that was the report of the Loch Ness Monster and then dinosaurs were discovered. When you do it in the other direction, it loses a little bit of credibility. You know, it's one of those things where, in retrospect, you can fill in all sorts of things, but going the other way, it's tougher. Also, here is something as a word of warning to anybody who's involved in spirituality of any form. Any form.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I'm yawning.
The word quantum. You're using it wrong. You're using it in an absolutely meaningless way. You might
I will agree with that.
Like, literally?
You might as well say literally.
I'm literally starving.
Almost like whenever you use the word quantum consciousness, quantum brain activity, quantum feeling, quantum anything, you're using the word wrong, and it's absolutely meaningless.
I'm in a quantum case of emotion.
Yeah. You're using quantum wrong. It's not, take it out of your vocabulary.
I'm watching a really funny video that somebody shared. Oh my gosh. I don't want it to be my whole screen.
Fungal Man says, why don't we ever see future ghosts? I'm not convinced that we don't. How would you know if it's a past ghost or a future ghost? You know what ghost I will discount, though? From the spiritual world. Like I will go with the time wibbly wobbly and the suspension of doubt that people say that they've seen ghosts in Civil War battlefields, walking around wearing Civil War attire. That's going to be time wibbly wobbly. If you're a disembodied spirit, what's in a backpack? Why do you still have buttons? Why does a spirit ghostly operation have buttons? It's not even like that was their ideal thing to wear when they died. You know? Like, they might be wearing their back homey thing, their favorite shirt that they, left back home or whatever. They're not going to be wearing a military uniform. They're not going to be identifying so strongly with something that they didn't design or sew themselves. Buttons. Backpack. What's in the backpack? Ghost canteen in case I get thirsty while marching. No, that's not a ghost thing. That's a time wibbly wobbly thing. If I suspend all doubt and don't say it's just the imagination of drunken hillbillies who are showing up at Civil War memorial sites.
All right.
I shared a random video.
I liked it. I've seen that one before. It's
Cute.
so
I've never
cute.
seen it.
Oh
That's
my goodness.
adorable.
Psychics.
Silly
Psychics. We
doggies.
talked about the psychics recently, right? Didn't we already cover this?
Oh, hey, since it is still on the West Coast, 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about 9/11 conspiracy theories.
All right.
No.
You don't want to go there?
I'm not allowed to anymore with court order.
Yeah. All I have to say, thermodynamics. There's just no way.
Well,
Don't
yeah.
even
So
help me.
the big conspiracy theory is that the building shouldn't have fallen the way that it fell.
No, don't even start. It's a slippery slope, Blair.
No. I'm not saying there's any merit to it. I'm saying that's what the
Slippery
main
slope, Blair.
conspiracy is that it didn't fall right, and there had to be charges inside the building to break specific load-bearing areas to make it fall the way that it fell, which is just ridiculous. But that's the big,
Blair.
yeah.
Slippery slope.
What?
Slippery slope. All I'm saying,
I can't
I
even
could just point.
what
Building
people
7.
say.
Building 7. Muhammad Atma's passport found intact in the aftermath by one of what's his name, Bernie Hardov. What's his name? We're running war games on hijacked planes in New York. No, at the same time. Coincidence? Nope. You can't. Don't. It's slippery slope. Slippery. No footage. No footage of the Pentagon. The hole. No side holes. Don't start it. Where's the footage? Where's the footage from across the street? It disappeared. FAA recorded talk from the call centers of the flight guy. The audio's missing. Went to the FBI. Now the tapes are gone. It's just stop. My head is gonna. The Pennsylvania plane crashes doesn't even leave like a wing, not a fuselage, nothing. It's just charred. Don't get me started.
So are you saying you are pro-conspiracy theories when it comes
I'm saying.
I'm confused here a little,
slope,
Justin.
Because there's a lot of unanswered questions, and you can't just attack one because there are hundreds of them that don't make sense. Uh-oh, I gotta go. See, I just got word from HR. HR just texted me. You're not supposed to talk about the 9/11 thing, Justin. We've been over this.
You're not supposed to, Justin.
No. Yeah. There's some weirdness that went on there that just doesn't make good sense.
Hey, did you guys hear about the goldfish who went bankrupt? Did you?
No.
Now he's a bronze fish.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night, Justin. Glad you could join us this evening.
Blair Baz.
Yeah.
Northwest, Bearville, whatever you want. Just plan it.
Okay.
Just put it together.
All right.
And you gotta give me notice though. You gotta give me like 2 or 3 hours advance notice.
I need to give my work 2 weeks notice, so you'll be fine.
Okay.
Bye, Justin. All right.
What did the magician say to the fisherman?
What did the fisherman say to the magician?
No, what did the magician say to the fisherman?
Oh, I got it backwards. What did the magician say to the fisherman?
Pick a card, any card.
Wah, wah, wah. I like it. So you have a web page with all these jokes on it?
Yeah, these I have. Earlier I was doing them from memory, but I found my favorite web page. Let's see. Where do you find a down and out octopus?
I don't know.
On Squid Row.
Ha 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 ha. I like it. I like it. I like it.
How do you keep a fish from smelling?
How do you keep a fish from smelling?
You cut off his nose.
That's what I was gonna say. It was a sad thing to do to a fish. Cut off his nose.
All right. I could do this forever.
Kevin Unique. I think Jackson 5 is broken. Exactly. I thought so too.
Do you want a racy
So-
fish joke, Kiki? I found a racy fish joke.
racy.
Yeah.
A racy fish joke. Yeah.
What is a trout's main job?
A trout's main job is
To keep his daughter off the pole.
That's funny. That is funny.
Identity
I'm gonna
for
try and
nice.
remember it. I'm gonna try and remember it.
That one's a good one.
Oh yay, zebra! He got a
can't wait.
zebra.
Yeah, he got the zebra.
That pun made a big splash.
No.
Splash. So punny, so punny, so punny. How do you talk to a fish? Ben Rothig is asking Blair Baz. How do you talk to a fish? Is this a joke? I don't know.
How do you talk to a fish? I don't know. How, Ben? Now we're going to have to wait for the lag.
I know. So funny. I never, ever, ever go shopping, but for some reason Facebook thinks that I like dresses.
You must have looked once.
Yeah, right? Once.
What do you call a big fish who makes you an offer you can't refuse?
Mmm.
The Codfather.
The Godfather. Ah, nice. Writes for robots. I had a chicken tarka for my dinner last night. It's like a chicken tikka, only a little otter. Ew. Gord, what did the ocean say when it was time to part?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay, here's the answer to Ben Rothig's. How do you talk to a fish?
You drop him a line. Very
Drop
nice.
him a line. There we go. Haha,
He didn't say
Gord's
anything,
joke.
he just waved.
Yeah, nothing. Just waved. I love it. I love it. TED Med update. Bad news.
Huh?
What? Autocorrect. What happened? Somebody. Oh, ninth leading cause of death in the world is infections caused by healthcare workers reusing needles.
Huh?
Whoa. This is from TED Med. TED Med's going on right now. It's a like UCSF and some other group and TED. So it's all like bioscience, medical stuff. The good news, the World Health Organization is going to change its policy so that all syringes are single use and disabled after one use. It will save 2 times more lives than malaria takes each year. Wow. That's amazing. That's really interesting.
If you think of a better fish pun, let me know.
Let me know. I like it. Yeah, identity 4. Maybe Facebook thinks all girls like dresses. It's true. Maybe I'm just a girl to Facebook. Come on, Facebook. I'm not just a girl. I'm not just like any other girl. I'm me. I'm very complicated, right?
No, you like dresses and shoes.
You make me want to wear dresses. That's right. Identity 4. Who the hell reuses needles? Yeah. Sometimes you do. So the whole idea about changing the night on TWIS,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't think that we would be able to change it, and I mean, it doesn't, for the live audience, it wouldn't make, for the live audience, people are used to their Thursday night thing, and so it would take a little while for people to get used to switching it over to Wednesday. So, you know, and I don't know, I would feel bad about that, but it's true about the missing nights, because I am going to miss a night in the beginning of October and then again at the end of October.
Which ones?
I have October 4th.
Okay.
And
the 9th is a Thursday, so I guess you're thinking the 2nd.
Maybe the 2nd, yes.
Okay.
The 2nd. I don't have my calendar open. Yeah, so the 2nd and the 23rd, I think.
See, I'm going to miss the 9th. And either, I'm opening my work calendar right now. I think the 23rd I'm going to miss also.
Yikes! That's not good.
Yeah.
So it would be better to do maybe that show on a Wednesday and just record it on Wednesday.
Oh, I'm going to miss the 2nd.
You're going to miss the 2nd also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to miss the 9th. And then either the 16th or the 23rd also.
Yeah, so the 2nd and the 23rd are the days that I will miss.
Okay. I can double check tomorrow and I'll let you know, but yeah, I'm pretty sure to the 2nd and the 9th for sure I won't be able to go. And then one of the other Thursdays I think I have something. So October is going to be real bad for me for Thursdays.
Right.
The 29th, which is a Wednesday, I will also not be here because I'm teaching a teacher workshop.
Could you do the 30th? The Thursday?
I think the 30th is fine.
Okay. Because maybe we'll just have to do this month kind of, maybe just
Wonky.
make October wonky, and it'll just be wonky. The podcast will go out normally like it does. But maybe we'll just have to do several Wednesdays, because that might be just the best. I think October might just have to be Wednesday month.
Yeah.
Especially since Justin's having so many problems getting out of work.
Yeah, on Thursday. So
On Thursday,
even if we left it with him and a guest host, like he might not even get there in time.
He might not even get there. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ben Rothig, Wednesday makes more sense for me. Yeah, I mean, I think we started doing Thursday because it was the best day for Justin work-wise for all of us in our schedules. I don't know. I mean, it would change the pacing of the week.
Yeah, totally.
It would just change when we'd have to have our stories together by Tuesday. Instead of Wednesday.
Let's just try it a couple weeks in October and see what happens. See how many people find us. See if we can handle doing it earlier in the week.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a nice experiment.
Yeah. Well, Justin and I used to do Tuesday mornings. So it used to be like an early in the week kind of thing. I've done it before. I can do it again. Ah! The show's already wonky and we love it that way. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, Web 21. Just let us know in advance about the Wednesdays. Yeah.
We will tweet up a storm before this happens.
Yeah, it would have to be. We are going to be on Wednesdays this month. The whole our whole ad thing that we have up in YouTube says Thursdays, and Blair locked up. She's gone. Blair's gone. This wonky in science. That's exactly it. Yes, the idea, Web 21, was that we would let everybody know in advance, which is why we're talking about it right now. You're back.
Yeah, I like how it was right when we were saying we were all wonky, and then
wonky, whack, you're gone.
So this is what I'm wondering is, while I'm trying to get Comcast off their ass to fix my internet, if I should just buy like 100-foot Ethernet cord and just run it down the length of my entire house from the router when we do this until then.
That I don't know. Hey, has anybody run in the chat room right now, run network cable? Is 100 feet, is that fine? Is there loss? I mean, I don't know if there's like losses like electricity or other things, like if you have losses in quality over distance. Does anyone,
would it even be worth it? Yeah.
Would it be worth it? Because it would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to let everyone know in the show itself for the rest of this month. Yes, exactly, Gord. So as soon as we make this decision 100%, I'm going to be stating it within the show itself so that people know for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for the next couple of shows. At Any Force says, go with the cable. It's great.
Okay. So I might need some Patreon funds for that because they're really expensive.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yay.
Absolutely. Yeah, Web 21. Is it actually 100 feet? Do you know how far it's going to have to go?
I'll measure it, but I think it's about 100 feet. That's my estimate.
Twit Refugee says should be fine if it's Cat 6. Cat 6 cable. Okay. Or even Cat 5. I've normally seen Cat 5, but
do you want me to measure it right now?
No, that's okay.
I'll measure it.
So there are losses associated, but 100 feet should be fine. Nice. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I don't know much about the losses that you should expect with networking cable, and it's probably better than wireless, though, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have to figure out if you can go. If you're going to want to go like around walls, like around corners, and just stick to the wall.
Right.
Or if you're going to run it, I don't know, if you have to drill a hole through a wall,
So I can get Comcast to come and drill a hole, but we know how Comcast is, so it's taking a while to like arrange a time when someone will be home, because I really should be here when it happens and all this kind of stuff because it's just my room.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't gotten a straight answer from them about cost either, so that's like all very annoying. So that's why I was kind of thinking, if I just buy a cord and I just run a cord down the hall until then I have a Band-Aid on the situation.
Totally.
Because I don't want to keep dropping in the middle of shows. That sucks.
Yeah, we don't want you to. Everyone is saying monoprice.com and Cat 6.
Okay.
So you let me know how much you need, and I will buy it for you and have it shipped to you.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
So just email me or text me or something, and we'll do it.
Amazing. And hey, those of you who have stuck around, we have A new short potentially in the works.
Woo woo!
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
It'll be a good one.
Identity 4 has his whole apartment wired. He tucks the cable under the baseboards where it meets the carpet. That's one way to do it. Or you can rip the whole carpet up and just put the cable right underneath it. Not go around the corners at all. That's good. But that's more work probably than you're looking forward to. I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, is this in meters? Oh. Meters, you say?
Oh, wow. I think you'll probably be fine with 328 feet.
That should be plenty. How much is that?
More than enough.
How much is it?
I don't know. But Rourke's was saying maximum segment length for 100 base TX transmitter is 100 meters, 328 feet.
Okay. Okay. I will figure this out.
Monoprice. Cables. Networking cables. Cat 6 Ethernet cables. Woohoo! They have
Okay.
the ends on them. Ooh, pick your color. Blue, green, orange, red, white, yellow, black, pink. Never mind.
I don't know what color I'd want because I don't think it would be permanently installed. I think I'd roll it up every week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
ran it down.
because
I see what you're saying. You want to do.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because it's like
You don't want it
because it would
permanent?
cross a bunch of thresholds. I want one permanent, but it's not going to happen immediately because where the router is now, it would have to go across 1, 2, 3, 4 doorways.
Okay. Well, it looks like Cat 6 straight cables, 100 feet. It's not that bad.
Good.
$14. We can do that.
Oh.
Lots of nice colors.
Oh, I thought they were hella expensive.
I don't know if I'm missing something here, but if there's something that I should be looking at differently. Yeah, identity for landlords tend to discourage ripping up carpets. Yeah.
I actually don't have any actual carpets. We just have area rugs in my house and hardwood.
Hardwood floors.
Yeah. Which is super nice, but also very loud. Feels like I'm stompy all the time.
You probably are.
I am. I know it.
I mean, you're shouty, so you've got to be stompy too.
I'm all of those things and slammy.
Shouty,
Yeah.
Blair. Slammy, stompy, shouty.
Mm-hmm. It's a problem.
It's a problem. Your roommates complain regularly. I hope not.
I can't help it.
You're like, that's just the way it is. That's who I am.
I'm just being me.
Being me. That's it.
All right, I should go to bed.
All right. I will too, because it feels like I can almost breathe. Not quite. Tomorrow will be another day of cold medicine and cayenne in my tea. We're going to make this nose. I got a cold in my node. My whole family got it. It was ridiculous. We're like, I couldn't work this week because Kai was home from school because he had a fever and a runny nose, and Marshall and a runny nose was sick, and I'm sick. We're just a sick house, and it makes me sad because I can't work, and then I can't go visit people either because I don't want to get people sick. So I'm like alone with my child in my house. But then I went out in the garden, and it was better.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, sun came out. I could go in the garden. That made it better.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go measure my haul and then go to sleep.
Cool. Yeah, let me know. Let me know.
Will do.
Yeah, Jennifer, the cables are $14.
I know.
That's
I thought they were like $100.
So I could do this. This is good. We can do this.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great. All right, everybody. Oh, it's the end of a long, long day. Lots of great science. What a great show. Thank you, Blair, for being here.
Of course. I always love to disclaim when I'm prepared to disclaim.
Exactly. When there's time to prepare for the disclaimer,
Yes.
it is a lot of fun. If it's the last minute kind of thing, it's like, what am I going to write down?
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and we hope you have a wonderful week. We will let everybody know. It won't be a Wednesday thing starting next week. It probably won't be a Wednesday thing until the first week of October. So kind of hold that in the back of your heads. We'll keep repeating it, and I think October is going to be the Wednesday month. And then maybe we'll go back to Thursdays again. But we'll see. We might keep it on Wednesdays. I don't know. We're just going to have to figure this out. I'm excited about potentially having Science Thursdays available in San Francisco.
Yeah.
This is very exciting to me.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Have a great night. Bye, everybody. Bye, Blair.
Bye, Kiki.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Feel
May
better.
the science, thank you. And may the science be with you, everyone.